It's August 7th, and welcome to episode 94 of Driving Forward Podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Wreaths Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, we appreciate your support. I'm running a little lean today. Our entire team's at a conference, so I'm clicking all the buttons, doing all the things. So the last time I did this, I absolutely know I messed up everything. So forgive me for however this is going to end up. As you can see, we upped or switched our game around here in the studio this week. So I'm also unfamiliar with where some of the buttons are at. We've got a different little soundboard. We've got a variety of different things. So hopefully all goes well today. Next week, we have Nick Klingenschmidt on. Nick and I will be chatting about persevering over the long haul and how to develop the habits to achieve that. The following week, we'll be in Atlanta. The entire Freight Movement BCS Road Tour event will be happening. And I'm excited to have Jenny Malafarina, Whitney Johnson-Cowell, and several others will be joining together for a live event. We'll be talking about industry topics. We're not going to just center around freight movement, but we're going to hit on a variety of industry topics, probably centered around sales and marketing is my guess. But I'll have more information about that next week. Following that, we have a variety of events coming up for GLCS. We'll be at the McLeod User Conference in Denver. We'll have a booth there. Really excited about that one. Should be a ton of people attending. It's at the Gaylord Rockies in Aurora, Colorado. So if you are going, reach out. We'd love to chat with you at that event. Then we're off to ATA MCE in San Diego. Susan Mayo and myself will be there. We'll be at NMFTA Cybersecurity Conference. I know Zach Barnhouse and potentially one more person will be there. And then Broker Carrier Summit in Orlando, Florida. That's a stacked week, everybody. That's a stacked week. I think there's a couple events that might pop up before that also. It's very likely I'll be down at F3 the week before. So, but BCS, I think Robert Bain and myself will be at BCS. So I'll be flying from San Diego to Orlando to hit that. November 16th, we'll be in New Orleans at Trimble Insight. I have a speaking engagement there talking about purchasing technology. And then, of course, just calling it out now, and we'll start talking about it more as time goes on, but probably a little earlier this year is December 13th, and how that's Wreaths Across America Day, and how, that's an important day across the board for us and in this industry and what it means. So we'll start talking about that more here in the next month or so. Coming up, like I said earlier, the Big Road Tour in Atlanta. I'll drop a link. I'm going to actually do that right now as we're talking. And because I'm by myself, I got to do that. So everybody should have just got a link out there for sign up for the Big Road Tour in Atlanta. That is August 21st from 6 to 9 p.m. at New Realm Brewing Company. I'm having problems with my words today. 6 to 9 p.m. Thanks a lot to Multi-Service Fuel Card, Upwell, and Transfix for helping us out and helping us make this stop happen on the Big Road Tour here in August. This should be a lot of fun. There's a link. If you go to Freight Movement, there is a link that gives a little social post that allows you to put your picture, say you're attending. It's kind of fun. I think I have a little picture of what it looks like there with me on it. So I will be at the event. Jenny Malafarina, Whitney Johnson-Cowell, Danielle Spinelli, I think Sharm Chalaya, a variety of people. I mean, right now, I think we have the most signed up 3 weeks prior than we've ever had outside of our event that we had at Manifest. So following that, we'll also be doing a event at McLeod. So adjacent to McLeod, you don't have to be signed up at McLeod. We'll have that Freight Movement Broker Carrier Summit Big Road Tour event in Denver, Sunday, September 21st at 8 p.m. Also sponsored by Upwell and Multi-Service Fuel Card, which we appreciate. I think also we may have just worked something out with Wirebee. So at the very last minute, I couldn't get them added in time. So we appreciate Wirebee. So that'll wrap up our sponsors for the Denver location. And 8 p.m. till I believe 11 p.m. we'll have golf. I'm just dropping the comments out here for that one. So once again, really miss Natalia when she's not here. But we're looking forward to meeting everybody there. Please sign up for that one. Don't just expect to get in. Don't expect to get in because there's only 100 person capacity in Denver, and we have maybe 16 more that we can put into because the golf simulators. So I would love to see you there, but definitely sign up ahead of time. There is going to be some rules about how many vendors we can bring in. Sometimes in the past, the vendors, we've allowed 5, 6, 7 people from vendors. This time we're going to limit that a little bit and make sure that we get a lot of carriers and brokers. But, looking forward to seeing everybody there. Continuing on, today's guest is the kind of guy who'll call BS when he sees it. And he isn't afraid to drop some truth bombs on the industry's biggest headaches. He was born in the cab of a truck. He was nursed with a bottle of diesel fuel. And he's done it all, from owning his own truck to shaking things up with nationwide equipment transportation. You've probably caught him on TikTok, dialing cold calls live, roasting scammers, and shining a light on the load board chaos we're all way too familiar with. This guy is the definition of transparency. He lives freight, he breathes freight, and he's unfiltered about it. If you came looking for a sugar-coated advice, you tuned in to the wrong podcast. But if you want the real deal insights and a dose of humor from a guy who's seen every side of this business, we've got you covered. So lock in and put your phones on Do Not Disturb, because today we're hanging out with Steve Vest. Steve,
Hey,
welcome.
Dave. Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So it's great having you on. It's been a long time coming. So whenever you show up at any event that we're at, you always show up when I'm in the middle of something, which probably is a good chance. And you and I have never had a chance to sit down and actually have a good long conversation. So I'm actually excited about this. No matter where, I mean, at Matt's, or you were just at the Jamboree. But which Jamboree, if you would have, there was time at Jamboree, just not when you came by. So I'm really excited to have a good conversation with you. So I appreciate
not with that storm that was rolling in and tornado alarms going off. I don't think we had time. So,
no.
But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here. Followed you guys for a while, and what you guys are doing kind of aligns with what we're trying to do here at Nationwide as well. So excited to share my expertise, I guess, or my knowledge and years of experience with your people.
George Fisher says, very insightful. Appreciate you, George. So you grew up in trucking, in a trucking family. What's your earliest memory of life in trucking?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, my mom was a truck driver from as long back as I can remember in East or Southwest Missouri. She ran grain, and I was on cow farms and doing milking and all that stuff from a very young age. She was hauling milk a lot and stuff like that. So I've been around that my whole life. But just my biggest exposure was when she met my stepdad up here in Kansas City and married him, and they owned 13 trucks at one time. But just being around it, around the truck drivers in the shop, riding in the truck on summer vacations and going to California and stuff like that. Like, I've been around it for a really long time. I enjoy it. It is in my blood for sure. And I'm wanting to try to get back to the way it used to be before all the problems started happening over the last 5 years or so. And so that's what my biggest goals are, is just trying to get it back to the way it was. So.
I can respect that. It's and I appreciate your TikTok videos because I haven't moved freight. There's a stint where we helped a few carriers out over the last 10 years, and we got really close. Well, we basically ran the businesses, and so you get to understand what that's like. But outside of that, I haven't been in that operations chair or run a trucking company since pre 2011. So when I get to listen, or I sit in a brokerage chair as well, so I get to watch your TikToks, and I get a little floored on how that goes. So it's definitely a different experience being in that chair today than what it was 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. I'm trying to share some of the day-to-day life stories that happen in freight brokering, but also educate the people that are starting out in their journeys so that they know how to do it the right way. Because there's a lot of people in this industry from both the carrier side and the brokerage side that are doing it the wrong way, trying to get rich quick, and that's not what this is. And I'm hoping, and to be honest with you, I didn't really plan on everything that's happened, but I'm thankful for it because I think I have a good voice to help people really be successful in this industry and not do it the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely. You see all those people, well, anyone in your position that's willing to be transparent about the actual booking of the freight and how it interacts with carriers, a little bit of transparency on some interaction with the customers. But how that interaction with the carrier ends up working and what it's like to be a good carrier partner. Uh, a lot there, the brokerage impact, if you look at spot market and how it's grown over the last 15, 20 years, it's substantial. I mean, back when I ran trucks, if you were running more than 5% spot market, I was gonna freak out. I don't. You just didn't do that. And today, it's a substantial. There's a lot more freight in the spot market than there ever has been. So the likelihood being a mid market carrier or a 50 truck fleet even, um, and hauling a substantial amount of spot market freight or creating relationships. I mean, you are going to have a substantial amount of relationships with brokers as part of your primary customer base. So, you showing what that looks like as a healthy relationship with a broker and what that needs to be like, I think is important because a lot of small fleets don't know what that needs to be like.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of bad players on both sides, and I'm trying to, just like the broker carrier summit that you're going to in Orlando, I'll be there as well. We're trying to bridge that gap a little bit to say, like, it doesn't need to be that way, and it shouldn't be that way. And if brokers are treating you that way, then don't haul loads for them, because really, that at the end of the day, you can't use carrier 411 as a tool to hurt someone's business just because you're having a bad day or they were late for a delivery and things like that. So trying to share some of those real life things that are happening, and help the smaller carriers. And so just this week we dropped a upgrade to our TMS platform that we built. It's our proprietary platform, and it's designed basically to help those small owner operator companies, less than 10 trucks, that want to work with direct shippers but don't have a way to do that right now. I'm trying to educate them on how to go after direct shippers. And I know people are probably thinking, dang, he's a broker trying to tell carriers to go after direct shippers. But like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm trying to get back to the where it was in the late 80s and early 90s when I got into this with my parents. and that carriers were working with direct shippers more and more, and brokers were there for the overflow, for the backhaul if needed, but not handling so much loads on the spot market because freight right now is moving at the light speed of light, and you
Right.
got to be very quick in doing that. And some of these small owner operators don't understand that like the old school way of doing things isn't going to work anymore in 5 or 10 years when the younger generation comes into play and wants that TMS platform connection, being able to book their own freight without having to pick up the phone and call anybody, but having that for us, having that back end to help you out with that is what we're doing with our TMS that's different than anybody else, is that we're still going to be there to help with the overflow freight, and the carriers are going to get a commission on that. So that's what we're super excited about, is that we want to partner with those carriers and help them grow their companies, and work with shippers direct more and more. And then, I'm not going to say it, but maybe put ourselves out of business someday.
That's a whole different debate on where the industry's going in general, on where, I mean, that takes us back, that 20 years, but then as you start looking at technology today, where are we actually going? And there's always probably going to be a place for brokers, but the question is, um, what is that place as time goes on? So, but
Yeah.
I think that's almost a whole podcast in and of
Right,
itself.
right. With the fraud and stuff, I think it's definitely coming faster than people realize, is that there are shippers right now working more and more with direct carriers than ever before, and brokers are losing that foothold that they've had because of the fraud. And so we're trying to stay in the game by creating a solution for the shippers and carriers to do that and help get rid of the fraud at the same time, right? We want to be the trusted platform, the network that everybody can use and not have to worry about, and I think I've gotten that reputation on TikTok. I'm trying to do it the right way. I'm trying to help these smaller carriers learn how to run a good business. And I think a lot of them don't know that. And so I think that's why I've resonated with so many people over there, and why
Yeah.
they, talk to me on there so much. So
No, I think that platform's definitely. I mean, you've definitely created a following there. So, Rob, appreciate you tuning in. Good to see you. So, Rob Peterson. Um, and we don't have much of a following. We're just starting to move into a couple other platforms. LinkedIn being, our largest following. We're actually Facebook's jumping up past LinkedIn now. So that's a interesting one. Oh, here's one. Rob says he's one of the only brokers that you're one of the only brokers he'll actually listen to, which is
right.
you're probably one of the few people that he listens to in general then. So, because he really doesn't listen to too many people. So,
Yeah, I see Pablo follows me on TikTok there. I think I saw him say that real quick. I can't see your screen super well, but yeah, I think we all have a job to do, and there's a right way to do it. And by, I will say I've been doing 20 years, and yeah, maybe early on I was one of those guys that yelled at drivers or carriers because they were late or being upset. And I've gotten a little bit more mellow the older I've gotten, but I still obviously now work with a lot better group of carriers, and I can make sure that that doesn't happen as often. So that's nice. But, at the end of the day, we all got to do the job. We got to move the freight and got to keep the country moving. And if we can all just do it a little bit more civilly, and, figure out how that, the best way to do that. And so I think that's why I resonate with people, is like you said, like there's a lot of drivers that'll say that same thing. They're like, hey, this is a good broker. And I hope other brokers watching me will start changing the way they treat other carriers. So,
and I agree with that completely. I mean, there's a human factor here. Rob says that apparently you, and his wife are the only people that he listens to, which I've probably seen that. So yeah, I agree with you, man. There's a human factor here, and in a lot of ways we've lost it. You see, some ways we've lost it. I mean, there's some great companies out there, both on the carrier and on the broker side, and that human factor is absolutely it. So, um, you have to treat people that way. I mean, these are human beings that are in the truck. I mean, you've driven, right, Steve? So I
yeah.
think I read that. So I started out behind the wheel, put a substantial portion of my life behind the wheel, and I still love driving. It's one of my favorite things to do. If I could somehow make it work, I'd probably feel a whole lot better driving than what I do today. So I know
Yeah.
that sounds strange, but I always like to do more, but there's something I'd probably get tired of it after about 60 days, but there's something about the open road that I've always loved. And
Yeah, if it's
uh,
a 10-hour drive for me, I'm on the road driving to there, and that's a Midwest thing, I think. But my wife
that
doesn't
is
like that. She'd much rather fly. But I drove a box truck. I don't have a CDL, but I am thinking about going and getting my CDL and making good content for TikTok on that. But because I'm sure it'd be entertaining trying to watch me back a trailer, because I guarantee you I can't back a trailer on the back of my Silverado very well. So trying to back a 53 foot up, I'm sure it'd be entertaining for people because I have mad respect for those guys, my mom and stepdad included. So
uh, Rob says you resonate with him because you're not full of crap and you're not putting out garbage information. So
yeah,
agree. The so you know I'm rusty, but I can still back like crazy, and I love driving. I love the equipment. I love anything with a lot of iron on it, and just that's what got me in the industry. And then I started doing the math behind what it takes to move hundreds of trucks at one time, and that ended up turning into kind of how I evolved into operations and then management and then loved the technology behind it. So that's the evolution of it. It took me 15 years to get to the point of switching to full-time technology, but it all started with 21 years old, getting my class A and jumping into the truck and starting to roll down the road in the mid 90s. So
yeah. I mean,
uh,
the transition now with social media and what we're seeing right now and what we're doing right now, going live on LinkedIn and other platforms, is just, as a small business owner, brokerage or any company, you've got to be a marketing company in some ways at this point, because you've got to go, like Gary Vee says, you got to go where the attention's at. And
right.
if I'm trying to promote this with even the small carriers and people that are on TikTok doing well, or any social media platform, some flatbed hotshot guys, they're getting customers from there, and people are like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yes." I mean, ever since last year, we've gotten 10 or 20 new shippers, because probably more than that, but like several shippers that come to us and said, "Hey, I saw you on TikTok. I want to work with you." So, just to speak to your audience a little bit more, is that like take it seriously, and it's exhausting. I will tell you that. And I'm sure Nate agrees. It's, having a schedule of recording and making all these videos is very exhausting. And coming up with all the ideas and all that, it can get a little bit much. But you know what, at the end of the day, the people that are going to survive in this down economy, this down market right now, are the people that are going the extra mile. And that's what I think Nate and I probably have both done our whole lives, is like, when the going gets tough, you got to start stepping up and going a little bit harder, and this is when you do it.
Absolutely, you got to dig in. I mean, that's our industry in a lot of cases. Where you dig in is always the question. But to your point, social media is hard. I'll admit, I've said it online. I've said it a few times. I took a extended vacation end of May, early June, and I was gone for 2 weeks. And it took me about 3 4 days to wind down and sort of wind down. And then by the end of the week, I basically disconnected off of social media for 2 weeks, and then that turned into 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and I'm having a tough time getting back to my daily cadence. And it's what, coming up on the middle of August here, so it is hard to get into that. It's hard to do it, and then when you get back out of it, it's hard to get back into it. But it does pay benefits. I mean, it definitely pays for the benefits, and we still do our fundamentals, and we still drive and do everything we can. But people ask us all the time, wow, you guys must spend a ton on marketing and a ton on social media. And it's actually primarily just consistency. So you just have to be consistent on what you're doing. And then if you're consistent and you have that reach and you start to spend, now you're going way over the top. But yeah, you gotta do something different than the next guy if you can. So
Yeah,
it's
I think I
always
saw, sorry to interrupt there, but yeah, I
no, go
saw a
ahead.
post on Reddit just this morning, and someone was talking about how you have to be super ultra creative right now as far as a freight broker or a carrier trying to get in your foot in the door with a shipper, because we all do basically the same thing. Can you stand out in a crowd or not? Get creative and do something different. And that's what I've done. And I'm thankful that I hired a social media coordinator in January of 2020 from the University of KU, go Jayhawks. And I thank her every day because she's still with me and she does it part time now. But she kind of just helps me come up with ideas and stuff and really pushes me to continue to post regularly. But like without her right now, I don't know where my company would be, from 2020 to now, posting consistently and then finally going viral in January of last year. It takes a long time sometimes to get your voice heard, but if you've got something to say, people are going to listen. And I just say, go for it. Like you don't know what tomorrow brings, and who cares what anybody else thinks about you? Just do it.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. I agree. Well, and the best part about social media, I mean, just to kind of cap that one off a little bit, is if it's not a good message and it didn't, as long as you're not hurting anybody, everybody's gonna forget about it anyway, because it's a flash in the pan. If it's a great message and it hits 10,000 people, then they're gonna remember it. But if it's something dumb and it's not too dumb, but if it's something dumb, then it'll be gone and off the internet ether in a short period of time. It doesn't matter. So just
Yeah.
take your shot, put it out there, and see what happens. So don't be
Yeah, just
afraid.
post your content. Don't like we talk about, like growing up, don't talk about politics, religion, or sexual orientation. You'll be just fine most of the time.
Right.
So, like if you try to start going after some of that, then yeah, you're probably gonna find some negativity online, and where you're gonna face it. You got to be pretty strong, thick-skinned person to post stuff, because people are gonna say things about you that you don't like, and you just have to let it roll off your back, which luckily I've been able to do that my whole life. But so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds for freight, for getting rid of the fraud in the industry. And I think it's all of us on social media that's really helping drive that. And, um, I hope it helps. I really do, because I believe this is the backbone of America, is trucking. And that is a worthy profession and job for guys to do and ladies to do. And, I hope we can continue to push that narrative forward as we go through this year and next year. So
No, well, we'll certainly push that narrative. I'll probably be pushing that narrative after I quote unquote retire, because I'll probably never retire, but that'll continue to get pushed till I fall over. So
yeah,
I think I'm on that bandwagon forever. So last question before we go to break. So we kind of touched on this, but what made you decide you were gonna start and maybe you answered this completely, but I think it's maybe been segmented. But what made you really jump on TikTok? I mean, was that just
it was really just the social media lady pushing me. We'd been posting on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook for a while and trying little things here or there, but really not doing it well. Really just her pushing it. Now, for the first year and a half or 2 years, I was kind of going through the great resignation within our company, starting to work from home, a lot of personal stuff going on. So the first 2.5, 3 years or so, I really wasn't fully invested in it, I would say. I had some good videos or whatever, but like at the end of 2023, after watching Ted Lasso, my daughter bought me a Believe sweatshirt, and that was my mantra going into the 2024 year, was just to believe in myself. And so I just started January 1st posting every day, 3 videos a day. Literally took about 21 days for a video to go viral. And I just started posting about what I did because I read somewhere that that's what I should do. So I just put the video that went viral was me taking calls from carriers and telling them, sorry, you're not acceptable in my system. And did that for a video, and that one went crazy, and did it for subsequent videos afterwards. But really, people, for me personally, I would much rather watch people's real lives on TikTok than I would watch TV at this point. So that's my story anyway.
yeah, no, I can agree with that to a point. I mean, I can't post what I do daily on video because everybody I wouldn't have any customers left. But the those conversations aren't meant for public. But It would be great if I could. So, but 3 videos a day, that's a lot of work. So, I mean, I
I'm
guess,
still doing it though, man. I got a backlog of videos that I keep going, and I see current events I post about. So it doesn't take me very long. I'm not very, I tell people all the time, try less, just post the
yeah,
content. And so it really does work if you have something to say. So
yeah. I agree with that too. Just toss it out there, see what happens. So I do agree with that. The 3 video. I used to, and I'll say this, and we'll go to break. I used to do a Tuesday trip. Every Tuesday, I would record something and I'd edit it, and then I put it out there. And it wasn't hard edited; it was just lightly edited, and I'd worry about whatever. And I'm thinking about kicking it back out. It was like a 15-minute segment that I do, 10 to 15-minute segment every Tuesday, and I think I'm going to start it back up now. I mean, we're coming up on 100 episodes of Driving Forward, full hour, et cetera, et cetera. I probably did 40 some odd episodes of the Tuesday trip, but Tuesday trips ended up being more work for me than Driving Forward. So, well, now of course we have 2 staff that help support Driving Forward, so they do a lot of work on it. But
yeah,
um, I'm gonna kick it back off and just let it ride, be it raw. I might even do it live and just pull out a phone or wherever I'm at and just record it and see what happens and just spew
yeah,
it out there. So
heck yeah.
whatever comes to my mind, just throw it out there and see what happens. So,
You'd be
but
surprised. It definitely works.
absolutely. All right, we'll be back in a minute and a half. If you have any questions for Steve, queue them up, send them over, and when we come back, we'll look through some news. If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the fast-paced world of trucking and logistics, time is everything. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep transportation and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them. With our industry connections and proactive approach, we keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise. All right, we are back. So, a couple things in the news. One thing I wanted to touch on was just market. We were sort of chatting market in the green room, although I was having some technical difficulties, so I got to be late this week. We both had camera issues, so
Yeah, no, I don't know what that was all about.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. So
It's not
I
like we
can
haven't
go.
done this before.
Yeah, well, once about 2 or 3 times a year, it pops up, and I've only had one scenario where I had to run to my desk and my office desk and do the podcast there. So out of 100 episodes, that's not too bad. So
Yeah.
but regardless, it just so happened that this one was the one where I don't have the backup crew. So um, so we were talking market, and you've been in the game as long as me, basically. So if not, how many years? How many years you've been?
20 years in business this year, but I've been doing this for 28 total.
Okay. Yeah, so right on the money, right, about the same amount of time. Um, so several of the enterprise fleets, mega fleets, whatever you want to label them as, Hunt, TFI, Werner, Martin, which I don't really categorize Martin as the mega fleet, but they're still pretty good size. especially on refrigerated. Night Swift, none of those guys are crushing it, but all of them are showing an uptick and stabilization. So, everyone's putting up better numbers. That's probably not what we're hearing from the mid market yet. Although, there's lots of companies here in Minnesota that I'm talking to, and Minnesota's a little bit of a shining star because there's a lot of produce that comes out of Minnesota. There's some very unique carriers that are here, so they're a little different, but everybody's starting to say there's stability. To some extent on the mid market, there's still some wishy-washiness. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, and I think this is one of the things that kind of scares me a little bit about this transparency issue with freight brokers, wanting, to be transparent. And I'm okay with it because I know what my value is, and I'm okay with saying I make 15 to 18% margin. But
Yep.
the problem that I have with it is that you're seeing the larger trucking companies with some growth or stability, but the middle and the lower end are probably struggling a little bit because I think they're gaining market cap. And that's a lot to do with technology and TMSs and direct shippers and things like that. But overall, July was bad for everybody from what I saw online and what I read and talked to people about. We had a really struggling month in July, but then August just started to pick back up. And here's my theory, Nate, and I'll be honest with you. So my wife and I been in doing it for 20 years, and during the summer months, you really saw just a little bit of a slowdown, not a lot of slowdown, but you saw a little bit because people were on vacation, kids
Right.
were out of school, blah, 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 right? You saw a little bit of it. COVID and 2020 hit, and then now all of a sudden we see a huge difference during the summer. And we even see it in other times of the year. And this is my theory is that people in the US now have figured out they want to have a life and they don't want to work really that hard. And so I think we see this in the freight side of things where it's kind of this roller coaster even more than ever before because we have these large swings of people that are just, hey, I worked really hard last month. I made enough money last month. Now I'm going to take the rest of the month off. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in that, but that's just my theory. Especially with the summer months, they're even more down than normal. And I think the economy is struggling right now. I don't think that they're going to show that. I mean, they just fired the report guy from the government, just fired the whatever the
Right.
guy that reports the, and I think that's because the numbers, it's kind of like one of those things where you fire someone if you don't hear what you want to hear. I don't know if that's true. I don't get into politics a whole lot. I don't really follow it that closely. I look at it from my perspective of my business and what I see everybody else talking about online. And I think the market is down. I also think there's just way too many players. The market is fragmented so hard right now that's really hard to tell like where all the freight is at. Like everybody's saying, oh, the freight's down, this or that, but like there's what I don't know, 40 some thousand freight brokers now, like 8,000 active subscriptions on DAT, I think, different, MC numbers on DAT. Um, and so that tells me that because of fragmentation, we all think the market's not doing well because you don't see all the volume. And so I think that has a factor in it as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you so absolutely, we're struggling. I mean, if you're a dry-van carrier right now, you're probably in more pain than you've ever been. You're on 3-year downturn, and unless you're a niche carrier, you're struggling. So if you're a refrigerated carrier, do you ever truly your struggle is probably never as bad as a dry van carrier struggle. And then a flatbed carrier, they live in a whole different world. So they can dependent upon their customer base can completely shut off. So but on another customer base, it can be very similar to a refrigerated carrier. It just depends upon the situation. So, uh, you just look at automotive in general, though, and like automotive is so far down. And I'm curious what the new announcements on the wide blanket tariffs are going to have, and if that's going to have any impact on the industry here. What was that announced today or yesterday? Today, I think so. So hopefully that doesn't take whatever stability we seem to be coming forward with and throw it out the window. So
Yeah, I think
uh,
that I think because of the market fragmentation and there being so many players in the industry, that lends to this false thing that it's not a good economy or we're not doing okay. But I also think, and I've said this before too, is that less loads are getting posted on the load board. And so a lot of carriers look at that and think, oh man, the market's down because there's no loads available. But that started happening because of the fraud. And then brokers stopped posting loads as often because they wanted to use the same carriers over and over again. And so that spot market that you talked about has been shrunk over the last 24 months, I would say, because brokers like myself have been posting less and less and less. And that's something that DAT and Internet Truck Stop and some of those players are going to have to deal with, because I think it's just going to continue. And again, that's one of the reasons why I think the market outlooks and all these analysts and they think they know what's going on. Really, do we really truly ever have a true picture of what actually is going on?
No,
I don't
there's
think
a
we
lot
do.
of speculation, and I think that speculation.
Uh-oh, what happened? Nate froze on me. Oh, that's not good. Where did Nate go? Shoot. Do I hit refresh? What do I do?